into a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Haley Sutton. Great news for you. The decision is done. LeBron James is headed east. He's taking his talents not to South Beach, not back home, but instead choosing Philadelphia in the dead of night. The 1 a.m. decision, that is, sending the GOAT to the 76ers. It's a 2-year deal worth $8 million that links LeBron with the biggest trade of the offseason. And now the Philly starting five looks like this. Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and of course, LeBron James. Who is beating this team? That's what we need to know. The reactions continue here on HQ as we welcome in our veteran NBA player, Al Harrington. Al, good to see you. I told you as we were coming up, as soon as this news dropped, we called our good friend and NFL Network reporter, Cam Wolf. Dreams and Nightmares was already booming out on the golf course. The city is up right now, and the talent, as we see, is top-notch. I know that he had the big three in Miami. When you see this starting five in Philly, where does this roster compare for you?
I mean, it's loaded with talent, top to bottom. I think that, going into this season, they have one of the top three starting fives, in the NBA. But I still would have to say that Miami was probably his most talented team. When you think about D-Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, Udonis Haslem, and Mike Miller, and even Mario Chalmers, he was a very, very good point guard, during his day. I would say that Miami team was definitely more talented than this team, but this will be a tough out in the Eastern Conference this year. And, if they're all healthy, they're obviously going to be super duper dangerous. Joel Embiid is obviously their wild card. If they can figure out a way to keep him healthy, one of my suggestions is for him to play like 5 or 6 games per month and just save him up for April, and April ramp him up, and then have him healthy for the playoffs, because that's when they'll need him the most, obviously.
When you look across that starting five, and I agree, I mean, the championships in Miami, the aura that it brought really across the entire NBA, that is hard to beat. What does this current group, the starting five with LeBron, what would you need to see from them, I guess, to equal that or to level that? Is it championship or bust?
Championship. They got to win a championship. And, obviously he has a great young core. The 3 guards, are all young, so they should be able to go out and really get after it. I mean, adding KCP, I think they got Anthony Simons over there, so they got some other young, talented guards that'll be coming off the bench. I think they even signed Dean Wade as well. So it's shaping up like the Miami team, right? That one thing that, Pat Riley did an amazing job of during that time was able to fill out the rosters with very formidable players that when guys were out, they could step up. And I think that Philly is actually doing that. So you got to take your hat off to that, to the organization, to the front office over there. They're doing an unbelievable job filling out that roster and giving those guys the support that they're going to need to make a championship run.
It's so interesting, too, the way narratives can change so quickly in this league. This was a Philadelphia team that somehow swept the Boston Celtics and then went on to get swept themselves in the postseason this year. They go out, they grab Jaylen Brown, and all of a sudden, they are the ones that we're looking at to take down the reigning champs in the Knicks. Pair this starting five. Who are you putting them up against across the NBA? Is this the best starting five in your opinion, or is there another team that you think is a little better?
I think it's the best starting five, but you can't take nothing away from the Knicks, right? Those guys, they have 5 very, very good players. I think even if you go side by side, you might say Brunson's better than Tyrese. You'll say, Miles Bridges and VJ Edgecombe, maybe give it to Bridges. Jaylen Brown is, probably better than OG. LeBron is better than Hart. And then, Cat, because he's available, you say that he's better than Joel Embiid. But besides that, besides the Knicks, the other team that would come to mind is OKC's starting five.
Would you say that either of those teams are the biggest threat to the 76ers? Because I know we're kind of talking about this as a championship or bust lens for LeBron and the 76ers. Who would you say challenges this starting five the most?
Yeah, I would say the Knicks. Obviously, maybe Atlanta. Atlanta definitely got better this offseason. And then, with Cleveland, they're going to come back with the same team, obviously with James, in addition of James Harden. But, you putting that group back out there where they've now been together for 3 or 4 years, maybe they can finally put it together and be able to go out and compete. So, it's not going to be easy. And, I still feel like the Knicks is the team to beat in the East. But, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the 76ers this year.
Got to give them that respect. They're the reigning champs for a reason. As somebody who played a lot of basketball in the NBA, if you're LeBron, you sign this 2-year deal, it is clear that it's championship or bust for him. As mentioned, he went to the best team possible to put himself in that conversation. The 2 years, though, I think is where a lot of people were interested because most of us thought he was only going to play the one season, right? So you're going into this year, it's a championship year. Talk to me about what you think happens if they do win that championship. Does he go out and say that last year, all right, I'm going out in a blaze, or does he try to run it back? What do you think?
I think if he wins it this year, he has to shut it down.
Has to.
Obviously, them playing 2 more years will put him at 25 years played, which will be obviously rarefied air. And I'm pretty confident to say that no one will ever be able to, get to that number. All his stats at this point, I feel like are unreachable. You know what I'm saying? Just because of the way he's been able to take care of his body and the career that he's been able to have. But I think that if he wins it this year, I think he has to shut it down. He just don't want to take a risk of, going out losing. So, he has all the cameras following him, and I think it's all set up that if he wins it this year, he can ride off into the sunset.
Man, Savannah will be celebrating that championship more than any others. Last one before we kind of put a bow on this for you, Al. Nick Nurse, the head coach in all of this, how do you manage championship expectations with a champion like LeBron James on your roster?
Oh, it's going to be a challenge, because, adding, 2 new players at that level of Jaylen Brown and LeBron James, I feel like that team has been getting into somewhat of a groove with Tyrese Maxey being the guy, right? Everything kind of going through him. Now you got a guy like LeBron who's like the ultimate point guard. Jaylen Brown, obviously, he's a special talent, plays on both sides of the ball, and, offensively, he's a juggernaut, right? He can get it done. So him figuring out how to make those guys mesh and realize like who's going to take the last shot, who's going to be on the ball, when the game's on the line, that's going to be his biggest challenge.
Okay, still a lot more to watch with the NBA still a few months away, but the LeBron news is done. We can all rest a little bit. Al Harrington, the player from the Himalayas, joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. Al, appreciate your time and your insight there when it comes to the NBA. The 76ers, look at this. They jump up to the second shortest odds to win the Eastern Conference, just behind the reigning champs, the Knicks, at plus 320. We will have to wait and see how things change with the preseason coming.
LeBron joining the Sixers on Friday. Jaylen Brown also going to be linking up with LeBron in Philly, and then Giannis Antetokounmpo getting traded to the Heat. It's a new day in the East, baby. With that, we bring it a day after Bron takes Philadelphia out of all the choices he had. But when you think about the roster, we know how great the starting 5 could be offensively. Well, what other areas do they need to still address to fortify their championship aspirations?
Yeah, that offense for the starting 5 looks incredible, right? I mean, I thought forever that the Knicks had the best starting 5. Now all of a sudden the Sixers will like a word on that. But you're right, there are some other holes that they're going to want to address here, because especially you would think regular season defense, right? But Jaylen Brown can absolutely D up anybody. LeBron, he has taken a step back at 41 years old, going to be 42 in December, but can still guard one.